Well, what do you know? It's that time of the year again. Time to fill out another bracket and see it get busted once again. Um, I hope you guys can get past the fact that my printer was almost out of ink and it's already past 10 o'clock at night where I'm at, and I don't want to go out for any more ink. So, because of this side of the bracket is all kind of messed up, but we know what teams these are. We could tell this is Duke. We could tell this is VCU and UCF and Murray State. This side of the bracket looks a lot better, so we're probably going to start off with that, but we'll get to this side, obviously, because we got to fill it out. And also get past the fact that I'm using masking tape to hang this on the wall. Just decide on that because these will come out nicer and it'll look like a nicer bracket when I take it down. Well, nobody's really grading it, but what the heck. It works, okay? And one other thing I'd like to mention too is I'm doing this. It's actually St. Patrick's Day today, which I'm actually not a fan of that. I like St. Patrick's Day. I like the NCAA tournament. I hate how the selection show and St. Patrick's Day are on the same day this year because I couldn't go all out. I'm got to do this for you, the people, so you can do that, do yours, and compare it to mine. Kind of going off one of my favorite YouTubers right now, the Wolf Pit. Link in the description for his channel. He's got plenty of subscribers, so he doesn't need my help. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with this. Alright, we're going to get started with the South region because this side of the bracket looks a lot better. Okay, so we have Virginia up here. They unfortunately got the distinction last year becoming the first 1 seed to lose to the 16 seed. They lost to UMBC. I became a big UMBC after that. I posted a reaction video last year about that. Huge upset. Congrats to them. And now because of that, it's not a given that 1 seeds will beat 16 seeds anymore. I mean, we kind of knew that was eventually a 16 seed was eventually going to be a 1 seed. But I don't know how many of us actually predicted that particular upset, but no way is Virginia going to lose to a 16 seed once again. Next, we have Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Oklahoma does not have Trae Young anymore. Ole Miss has Coach Kermit Davis, who pulled off some big upsets in the tournament, including, with his old team, Middle Tennessee. Including that Michigan State upset from 3 years ago, which pissed me off because that was my championship pick that year, and that was the first time my national championship pick lost in the first round. Thanks a lot, Kermit, but hey, I'm going to have his team move on. Wisconsin, Oregon. I usually like to, Wisconsin's always a really good tournament team. Except for last year when they didn't make the tournament, but we're going to pick them. And this one right here, I was thinking, this might be an upset alert right here. I started thinking about it, and UC Irvine just dominated the Big West tournament, and Kansas State seems to be a vulnerable team. I was picking Kansas State originally, but you know what? I'm going to pick I'm going to pick my first upset right here. Alright, Villanova and St. Mary's. Now, I have constantly doubted Villanova in the tournament ever since they let me down in, I think it was like 2009 or 2010, whatever year. Oh no, it's probably 2010 because 2009 they made the Final Four with Scotty Reynolds, and I thought they would win it all the year after, and they did not. They won it all in 2016 and last year. In both years I doubted them. And the year between that, 2017, I correctly predicted 8 seed Wisconsin to upset them. which not too many. That broke a lot of brackets, but didn't break mine because mine was already broken before that. But I also had picked Wisconsin that year. I'm actually going to doubt Villanova again, but I'm not going to have them lose to St. Mary's. Nova. And I'm going to pick Purdue to beat Old Dominion. Old Dominion's also the name of a pretty good country group, but I'm not sure if they're related at all to the college Old Dominion. I'm going to pick Iowa to beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati's usually not a very good tournament team. And I'm going to pick Tennessee to beat Colgate. All right. Virginia and Ole Miss. I'm going to pick Virginia again. And I'm going to pick Wisconsin to beat UC Irvine. And this is where I'm going to doubt Purdue. I mean, not Purdue. I'm picking Purdue. I'm doubting Villanova right here. They're going to lose in the second round for second time in 3 years. Or rather, this is probably the fifth time third time in 5 years. The 2 years they got past this round, they won it all. And I'm going to pick Tennessee, to beat Purdue. I'm going to pick Wisconsin to upset Virginia. And I'm going to pick Tennessee to beat Purdue. And we're going to come back to this and move on to the Midwest region. All right, I just realized I keep breathing hard in these videos. I got to learn not to do that. I've had problems with that in doing narrations, and I meant to say in the last one that I'm a big UMBC fan. I just said it. I became a UMBC in the last one. I meant I became a UMBC fan. Although I think you guys got the point. But anyways, let's move on to this region. So last year I had the worst bracket ever. None of my Final Four teams were correct at all. But I took some risks. Last year was the first bracket I did not pick a single 1 seed in the Final Four. The year before that was my best bracket ever, and I correctly predicted North Carolina to beat Gonzaga in the championship. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. In fact, only one other time I correctly predicted the national championship. Only one other time I correctly predicted the national champion. That was Louisville in 2013, and sadly they had that one vacated, which sucks. But oh well, things happen, people cheat. And I guess we're going to move on. I just breathed right there, but I needed a breath. Okay, moving on. Obviously I'm picking North Carolina to beat Iona. And I'm going to pick Washington to beat Utah State. And that's another thing. I cannot be biased on this year's tournament because neither San Diego State nor Arkansas are in the tournament. Alright, I'm going to pick Auburn to beat New Mexico State. And I'm going to pick Kansas to beat Northeastern. I'm going to pick Iowa State to beat Ohio State. Iowa and Ohio. Iowa State, Ohio State. Sound pretty similar. I'm going to pick Houston to beat Georgia State. Georgia State, I believe, is still led by Ron Turner. I'm still breathing a lot. I need to learn not to breathe. And I'm going to pick Wofford. Wofford has actually been one of the best teams, mid-major teams this year. I'm going to move this down a little bit if I can. Yeah, you can see Kentucky's playing Abilene Christian, who's in the tournament for the first time ever. I'm going to pick Wofford to beat Seton Hall. And Abilene Christian is going to lose the first round their first time in the tournament. Wofford's been one of the best mid-major teams. In fact, their 4 losses, actually, I believe, are against big-time opponents. I'm going to pick UNC to beat Washington. And I'm going to pick Kansas to beat Auburn. Auburn won the SEC championship game. I think they're going to be a little bit tired out. So, I'm going to have them lose to Kansas. I'm going to pick Iowa State to beat Houston. And I'm going to pick Kentucky to beat Wofford. I don't think Wofford could possibly beat Kentucky, but this is the game I wanted to talk about, the potential matchup. I thought Kansas would have been, before the season started, Kansas was one of my favorites to win it all. But they've had some injuries, some bad luck. They aren't as good as I thought they would be. In fact, they didn't win the, this is the first year in like a while they didn't actually win the Big 12 regular season. I still considered them getting to the Final Four, but I'm going to have them. UNC has just been real hot lately. I don't see that happening. And we got another big-time matchup here. I'm going to pick Kentucky to beat Iowa State. Another big-time matchup that I'm actually going to go back and forth on. In fact, I had this same matchup in the Elite Eight the year I correctly picked North Carolina and Gonzaga, and I was all like, whoever wins this is going to win the national championship. And I gotta say, I think that's also possible this year. Whoever wins this matchup could indeed win the national championship. But look ahead to see what I have happening. Alright, gonna move on. Alright, we've reached the part of the bracket that's kind of messed up. But you can kind of see. We kind of know what teams are these. We're going to pick Duke right here, obviously. I'm going to move this down a little bit. You know what? That's a lot better right there. This is North Dakota State against NC Central. We're going to pick North Dakota State. But they're losing to Duke. And we're going to pick Central Florida over VCU. Central Florida has that big guy. Big player, Taco Fall, 7'6", averages 2.5 block shots per game. They're gonna play defense big time against VCU, I think, and they'll win that game. We got Mississippi State rather than Liberty. My bad. I think I said that was Murray State earlier. We're picking them. We're picking Mississippi State. And we're going to pick Virginia Tech to beat St. Louis. It's another potential upset pick, but I'm going to pick Buzz Williams because third time's a charm for him in the tournament. The first 2 times he's gone to the tournament with Virginia Tech, they've lost in the first round. So third time's a charm. We're going to pick Belmont to beat Temple. And this is a big-time risk, but I'm going to pick Belmont to beat Maryland as well. And this one right here. Yale and LSU. Here, I'm going to do this. LSU and Yale. And I'm going to pick Yale for the big-time upset. They did pull off a big upset the last time they were in the tournament. They beat Baylor. And I have them beating LSU right here. I think they can absolutely do it. So we literally got an 11-14 matchup here. I'm going to pick Minnesota over Louisville. This could have been a matchup of father and son, actually, if Coach Rick Pitino, if it wasn't for the Rick Pitino scandal. But his son, Richard, coaches at Minnesota. And Michigan State and Bradley. Bradley was a surprise team. They were a surprise team in their conference tournament. I did not think they would beat Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago, but they did. But they're not getting by Michigan State. All right, so Duke and Central Florida. Central Florida's not getting by Duke. Duke was my national championship pick this year. You'll have to see whether I have them winning it all again this year. I mean, they're heavily favored. They're the #1 overall seed, but they're going to be playing Mississippi State in the next round, that's for sure. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm just picking Mississippi State. I'm going to pick Belmont to beat Yale. Belmont is a Cinderella team. I think they're due for a Sweet 16 appearance. And they're going to be playing Michigan State. And we're going to have a 1-2 matchup right here. So we have a 1-2 matchup here. And we have a 1-2 matchup. I'm going to move the camera. We have a 1-2 matchup here. We have a 2-5 matchup here. Those all sound like pretty good matchups, to tell you the truth. But we'll see if they actually happen. Alright, West Regional. I believe we have Gonzaga and we have Fairleigh Dickinson, Prairie View A&M. I'm going to pick Fairleigh Dickinson, but then I'm going to have Fairleigh Dickinson losing to Gonzaga. And Syracuse and Baylor, I'm going to pick Syracuse. Tyus Battle will be back for the tournament, and he will help guide Syracuse. Marquette and Murray State. Now, Murray State has one hell of a player in Ja Morant. In fact, he is actually a top 3 NBA prospect. I read that somewhere. He could go number 4, actually. I think possibly, but they say he's a top 3 prospect. And because of that, I have them beating Marquette. And I'm going to pick one more upset right here. We're going to have a 12-13 matchup. Vermont will upset, or maybe they will. Who knows? I'm going to pick it. Vermont will beat... I have Vermont beating Florida State and playing Murray State, so we have a 12-13 matchup here. We have a 12-13 matchup here, and then an 11-14 matchup right here. We'll see if those happen. That would be pretty cool. We haven't seen matchups like that in a while. But anyways, Buffalo. Oh, we got another first 4 matchup here. I'm gonna pick St. John's to beat Arizona State. St. John's led by head coach Chris Mullen, former Warriors player. Coaching his alma mater, but they're not getting by Buffalo. Buffalo is one of the best mid-major teams out there right now. They pulled off an upset last year against Arizona, who I had going to the national championship game, which sucked, which completely broke my bracket, but that's what happens. I'm going to pick Texas Tech to beat Northern Kentucky. I'm going to have Nevada over Florida. And Michigan over Montana. Now, Nevada's a team I've really liked in this tournament. In fact, on some mock brackets, I've had them go into the Final Four. But not here. They're not beating Michigan. Michigan's always a pretty good tournament team. Well, they just lost to Michigan State today, but hey, they're going to come back motivated for the tournament. So, here they are. Okay, so big second round upset right here. Syracuse over Gonzaga. I just can't see Gonzaga being Syracuse. And Syracuse will have Tyus Battle back, so I don't think so. And Tyus Battle in the Sweet 16 will be facing off against John Morant. Okay. And then I have Buffalo upsetting Texas Tech. So we got a couple of Cinderella teams here, Murray State and Buffalo. So Murray State, Buffalo, and Belmont are Sweet 16 teams, or our Cinderella teams that are going to the Sweet 16. But Murray State will be getting by Syracuse, and Buffalo won't get by Michigan. All right, moving on to the Final Four. All right, we have the Final Four. Now, last year was the first time I didn't pick a single 1 seed in my Final Four, and that was a huge risk, and it ended up not paying off. Now, before last year, there was always a team that was obviously going to make the Final Four, and that's usually been the one team I've had in the Final Four. Well, 2 years before last year, I've had a couple of teams in the Final Four, including 2 years ago I had both North Carolina and Gonzaga in the national championship game, which I got correct, and those were my 2 Final Four teams I had correct. The 2 other Final Four teams unfortunately didn't make it. Well, we do have an obvious team in this year that I think should make the Final Four, and that is Duke. Duke was my national championship pick last year, and they let me down. But I think they'll make it back this year. Just gave that up, and I'm trying to reveal my bracket right now, but screw it. I have them playing Syracuse in the next round. I kind of went back and forth on this one. I was like, wasn't too long ago that Michigan lost to Louisville in the national championship game, and the following year I had Michigan in my Final Four, and they let me down, losing in the Elite Eight. Well, they're gonna lose. I'm gonna have them losing in the Elite Eight here. So we got 2 ACC teams on this side of the bracket. I'm wondering if we're gonna have 2 teams from the same conference on this side of the bracket. Well, for starters, I have Tennessee beating Wisconsin. Tennessee, they got Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams, their 2 best players. They're coached by Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes has turned the program around, and were one of the top teams this year. And I did not think I would actually be picking them as one of my Final Four teams, but that just happened. And this one right here, this one might just decide the national championship game, or the national championship once again. We got North Carolina. Luke May, the guy that hit the winning shot a couple of years ago, I believe is still on the team. I'm going to look it up right now. I think he is. In fact, I'm almost certain he is. Where's my phone? And Luke May is still on the team. But Kentucky just got back graduate transfer Reed Travis from Stanford. He has played some really good games in the SEC tournament. Well, they end up losing to Tennessee. You know what? I think Kentucky's going to pull it off this year. I just have a feeling. They have a really balanced team. They got some veteran leadership in Reed Travis, who is a graduate transfer from Stanford. Anyways, we do have an ACC matchup and an SEC matchup. So, you know what? It's safe to say we're going to have ACC against SEC, just like in the national championship game for football. For one thing, Duke will beat Syracuse. And the reason I like Syracuse as a Final Four team is because they always seem to make a surprise run, and I have that happening again this year. I mean, this is also the second time in 3 years I've actually had an 8 seed in my Final Four. I don't think that's happened too often, but I have it happening. And I'm going to pick Kentucky to beat Tennessee. Tennessee won the last matchup in the SEC tournament, and I think Kentucky wants revenge. And now for the toughest decision I've had to make. We have two big-time blue blood schools who are known for basketball. Duke has a whole bunch of freshmen who are going to be moving on to the NBA. So did Kentucky not too long ago. Kentucky still has some freshmen that are going to go on to the NBA, but not like Duke. Duke has Zion Williamson. Oh, I just knocked the camera. Anyways, Duke has Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, and R.J. Barrett. They have a hell of a team. Both these teams have done a hell of a job recruiting in recent years, and both are usually on top. Well, not so much Kentucky. I want to say it was probably a couple of years before the undefeated team, the 38-0 team that lost to Wisconsin. I'm talking about the one Kentucky team that lost in the first round of the NIT to somebody like a mid-major team. But anyways, this is a tough decision, and I'm going to ponder over it for a little bit. Give me 1 second. All right. Duke is a number 1 overall seed, and every time I picked a number 1 overall seed to win it all, it hasn't happened. Plus, I still feel like this matchup here is going to decide it all. So, Kentucky is your national championship, at least on my bracket. My score, the score I'm predicting, 87-83. It's going to be one hell of a game. Alright, so that is my bracket. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, click that subscribe button. And I will see you guys next year. Or if something crazy happens in this tournament, might make a video to update you guys. But thank you very much, and goodbye.